and joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. There you go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and videocast known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'.
Hi, Mom.
It is our pleasure to be joining you today for Smokin' and Toastin' number 210. We are halfway to 500.
Halfway to 500.
Pretty cool, huh? Pretty darn cool. On today's show, the best beers and breweries of 2020. I mentioned this at the end of last week's show, but a whole bunch of lists came out. So I wanted to compile them all, and maybe you can think, did you have, we didn't talk about doing like any official lists of our own.
No, we haven't
to add
thought
to
about
this.
that, have we?
But maybe if you give it some thought by the end of the show, you could think of what have been your favorite beers and favorite, your two or three maybe
Man, I'd
favorite
have to
beers
go back
and
and get
favorite
some
breweries.
names.
Yeah, that's the
I can't
thing.
remember. Yeah, that's the whole trick.
Okay, well we'll have to think about that. We've had so many great beers on the show this year. So many new things that have come out, so many things that we've tasted for the first time. And today, I think, will be no exception. Now, our pumpkin beer, I think both of us have tasted before, but I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't remember because I think it was for the last couple of years, we've done some pumpkin beer shows where
we've done all pumpkin beer
either blind
all the
or
time.
did all pumpkin for a show, and I'm pretty sure we had this one on one or both of those. But Southern Star Brewing from Conroe, Texas,
Yeah, I like Southern
they
Star.
have great beers. Their pumpkin ale is called CyGourd, like
Yes.
cyborg, and so we'll be tasting that on the show today. Also, our friends at Cigar City Brewing in Tampa, Florida, have, I believe this is new. I just saw it for the first time and I grabbed some. They have a new Hazy IPA called Fancy Papers.
Fancy
Papers. So we'll be checking that out. And then I think you're going to be excited about this one, Ian. Firestone Walker Brewing, a very, very
I like
awesome,
Firestone Walker.
very awesome brewery. Not only do they do that 805, which is just
great.
this great, easy drinking, everyday kind of beer, but they also do a lot of really cool specialty beers. And we'll be trying one of those today. It's their 2016 Stickee Monkee. It's a barrel-aged Central Coast quad.
Oh, yeah. We've had Sticky Monkey before, but,
Right. This is
but
the
it
20.
evolves every year.
This is the 2016.
The 2016.
Yeah,
Have you
so
had this a while, or did you find it?
I haven't had it since 2016. I found it and I've had it for about a year.
Oh, okay.
So I thought you know what? It's time.
Bruce Stark chimed in on the comments. He says, "My favorite beer is whatever's in my right hand, and my favorite cigar is whichever is in my left hand."
I like his approach to life. See, this is why Bruce is one of our very most favorite listeners and viewers.
That's a way to simplify
because
things.
that is a way to simplify that. On the spirit front today, we'll be tasting the Azuñia Estate crafted Anejo tequila. And so we're looking forward to that. We haven't
It
had a
looks
tequila
pretty.
in a while. It does look pretty, doesn't it? Our show is brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com because Cigars. They have got all kinds of new designs available now at MyCigarShirts.com. So check it out. The shirts are not expensive. They start under $20. I was looking at some other T-shirt sites online, not cigar shirts, but like other stuff. And like all the shirts start at like $26, $28. The shirts on mycigarshirts.com start under $20, and most
And
of them
they're
are
comfy, soft
and
shirts,
most
too.
of them are in the low 20s range. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're
comfy,
really
soft
cool.
shirts.
Plus they're really cool cigar sayings and whatnot. So you can check them all out at mycigarshirts.com because Cigars. And thank you to mycigarshirts.com for sponsoring the show. On drinking news today, our headline: I just wanted beer.
I just wanted
I
beer.
just wanted beer. Yeah, the mind reels. Yeah,
Nice.
Looking forward to that. Oregon
Remember
voters.
that old Suicidal Tendency song, All I Wanted Was a Pepsi?
Yeah.
She wouldn't give it to me.
I haven't had. I don't know if we've ever had a Suicidal Tendencies reference on the show before. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, Oregon voters approved a cigar tax increase in the election. So we have no idea as of the broadcast of the show who's going to be president for the next 4 years. But we know if you're in Oregon, you're going to pay more for your cigars starting immediately. So
I like the big push to get everybody to vote, and now it's this
This big push to get everybody to wait.
Yeah. Now that we got so many people to vote.
Yeah. We weren't quite prepared for that, so that's the way it goes. By the way, apparently, I realized as I was walking into the studio, apparently the coronavirus is over.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because people are walking up and down the halls, no mask, just walking around like it's over. I don't care, whatever. It's like,
Everyone's just giving up.
Apparently, I missed the news bulletin.
They're like, what do I have to live for?
Yeah, if I die, I die. I'll tell you what I have to live for. It's sitting on Mr. Twirligig right now. It's the Azuñia Estate Crafted Anejo Tequila.
I'm looking forward to that.
That's
I have to tell you, I'm a little disappointed with the office today because I came in and I went to the refrigerator, the office refrigerator here at the studio, and there was no beer.
The office has been working since March on a very much smaller skeleton type staff.
Is that what's happening?
Because a lot of the people here at the office are working from home.
Right.
And I think whoever was responsible for filling the fridge with beer is working from home,
So
and
they're
therefore
filling their
their
fridge with
home
beer.
fridge is filled with beer, which helps
Like, no,
us.
I'm doing my
which
job.
helps us not at all. But anyway, we'll get to some beers here. We'll get to some beers here shortly on the program. Like I said, a lot of different beer lists are out for the end of the year, and it's not even really the end of the year yet. But I guess most beers that are coming out this year
can we
have
start?
been released.
Can we start comparing beers like we do presidential candidates? So instead of telling people what we like about a beer, we could just tell people what we hate about every other beer.
I was going to say, the only way to do that, like presidential candidates, would be to go negative on the other beers. So I don't know if this beer is any good or not, but I sure hate Bud Light.
That's right. We're just gonna treat it like a campaign. We'll have no thought process or positive towards what you actually like. We'll just go ahead and
Your future hangs in the balance. This beer, whatever it may taste like, or that crappy Dos Equis Mexican Pale Ale.
whatever it is, I'm voting for this, even though I haven't tried it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Other things going on around the world and around the country. A lot of different lists beginning to come out as the end of the year begins to creep up on us. Men's Health Magazine. I love this one. Men's Health Magazine has named the 21 best bourbons.
That's awesome.
Well, it is, except I didn't know Health Magazine's recommended bourbon. When I was drinking bourbon, I always thought, the Health Magazines are not going to be into this.
I think some of these magazines, though, for instance, like Men's Health, I think it's also a bit of a lifestyle magazine to some degree. It's not just centered around, like every fitness routine or diet you can be on. I think it's centered about
it's more of a lifestyle thing,
wellness or a men's lifestyle
it's like,
kind of
let's
thing.
write a whole bunch of men's lifestyle articles, and then let's put someone on the cover whose abs are completely impossible to actually obtain in real life.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how most of them
They're
operate.
probably not airbrushed on the cover
probably not at all. No, not at all.
They would never do that.
Not at all. They haven't yet invented the airbrush that would give me abs, but but they're working on it. These things are important to science, and they're working on it.
I had abs. I had a 4-pack once.
Yeah. I was going to say I have 6-packs regularly, but unfortunately they're in the beer fridge. So, Hey, last week's show, I really have to issue an apology about last week's show. I insulted a number of people, but I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm going to apologize for the fact that in the title and in the tease at the beginning of the show, I said we were going to talk about there's a stem in my cigar.
And we never did.
And we never did. So we will do that today. I promise you. We will not end the show until we talk about that. No matter how much we've had to drink by the end of the program. So it's kind of an important. If you see a stem in your cigar, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is it should you pull it out? What's the What's
Is
the
it like having a fly in your soup? I mean, it doesn't eat much.
That's kind of like it. Kind of feels like that. Like waiter, there's a or you're at Casa de Monte Cristo and you're like, Steve, there's a stem in my cigar, So anyway, we'll get to that today, I promise. Speaking of cigars, Ian, I'm assuming you have had an opportunity to smoke one in the past week that you might be able to share with us.
I did. So for the past week, I've been smoking down to the last dregs of my humidor. My humidor is actually empty.
You keep saying this, but
it is actually.
So is it
literally actually empty?
Is it that you're buying stuff to fill it, but then you're smoking it all, and it's not staying filled, or
are you
kind
been
of
buying,
going through clean out
like
here?
a box at a time, and then I end up smoking that whole box. But my humidor, as of last night, I smoked the last cigar in my humidor.
Oh, you're kidding me.
like dusty, like nothing left.
I should have brought
empty.
you something. I feel bad.
No, that's okay. I got up this morning and I went over to Casa, and I thought, what am I going to have today? Because I've been having an issue where, the cigars that I keep in there, I've reviewed all those anyway. You know?
Right.
So having to have some new stuff and something fun to do. But I went into Casa de Monte Cristo today. I'm walking around there, and I thought, you know what? I want something classic.
Yeah.
I want something that I don't think that I've ever reviewed. And if I have, it was so far back that you don't remember it and I don't remember it.
Can I guess?
What?
Arturo Fuente Hemingway?
No, that
Short
actually
story?
reviewed one.
You
I
did
thought about
review-
that,
that's
but I actually
right.
reviewed
That's
that
right, you
not
did.
that long ago,
Okay.
about a year ago or less.
That's the first cigar that comes to mind when I think, well, what's a good classic?
That's a super classic.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go to one that I got turned on to at the Briar Shop one time I walked in early in my cigar smoking days.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ladies there recommended this cigar to me. She goes, well, if you like this, you want to step up a little bit in strength, but you like, the sweet characters and things like that. So she gave me a Christoph Maduro.
Ah.
So I grabbed the Christoph Original Maduro.
Nice.
This is the classic
Yes, it is.
Christoph Maduro. This is a Robusto, 5.5 inches by 54 ring gauge. The wrappers, Brazilian Maduro, binders, Cuban seed, Dominican, fillers, Cuban seed Dominican, Cuban seed Nicaraguan. The appearance, dark brown wrapper, veiny, leathery, oily, firm feel overall. Closed foot on them. They always have a little closed foot. They has kind of the subdued labels, very classic look to it,
Mm-hmm.
The pre-light sniff on this, rich earth. It's such a great smelling cigar.
You're totally right, because sometimes that's, I think about the first time I smoked one of those, and it's what I almost remember the most about it, is how great it smelled on the pre-light,
They smell great. It's a rich earth, roasted coffee beans, sweet spices right there off the nose.
Mm-hmm.
The pre-light draw on this, I used a clip. It had a pointy end on it, so I used a clip. It wasn't quite a torpedo, but it did have a little bit of a pointy end on it. So medium draw, but then again, it's a closed foot, so I was expecting that to open up.
Right.
As soon as I lit it, and of course it did, so no surprises there. The draw got to not an effortless draw, but a light draw on it. The sweetness kind of zing it leaves on your lips is awesome as well. Like as soon as that wrapper gets a little moist from your lips, it just leaves this great zing sweetness
And it's
kind
not
of flavor.
like an infused kind of a sweetness.
No.
It's a natural from the tobacco.
Just the tobacco and the way it's fermented and everything else. The also it had notes of like baking chocolate and coffee. Like coming right through. These are all things that I absolutely love in a cigar. The initial light, tangy baking spices, like right off the bat, pow. Bitter chocolate and coffee, all right there. There's a little bit of spice to it, but it's in the background. It's not a pepper bomb by any means. This is one of the most gentle light ups you'll have on a cigar that I know
well,
of.
it's got Nicaraguan tobacco, but it also has Dominican tobacco in the fillers, right? So that's going to balance
Soften
that out
the
a
light
little bit.
up a little bit. Yeah. So it's not an explosion of anything spicy like you get on a lot of cigars. It's such a gentle, nice initial light. The first third, the draw opens up earthy, sweet spices settle in, simple and rich flavors, dark chocolate, coffee, earthy spices, and it's a medium strength cigar. But again, it's not a super spicy cigar. So if you're into mild cigars, this is a great one to step
kind
into
of a one
because
step
it's got
forward,
a sweetness to it. It's definitely medium strength, but it's not medium harsh, not medium spice, not medium any of those things, but it's great flavor.
And that's how it was recommended to you. You were talking about it at the Briar Shop, right? And she was saying if you want to go a step further in terms of intensity.
Yes, exactly.
From where you were,
boy, did I love it. I've smoked so many of these over the years. And, sometimes you get that familiarity where you look at it, you go, okay, I've had many of those. But, like, today was one of those days where I felt like I just want something super classic. Yeah, so the simple, rich flavors, dark chocolate, coffee, earthy spices, medium strength, and then the retro hail has this great, like, hazelnut and cedar going on.
Ooh, nice.
It's like, man, so good. I wanted a Christmas ale with this.
I bet,
or even a pumpkin spice beer or something like that that has those rich, like, baking spices with it. Be absolutely brilliant with this. Solid ash. Perfect burn.
I was just looking at the picture, and I was like, wow, that is a razor straight burn.
With a perfect burn. It burned. I'm going to go ahead and give this one away. It burned laser straight perfect from beginning to end of the cigar. And I don't think I've ever had one that I've had any issues with.
Yeah.
The second third of this, I didn't even write much for the second third of this. I said same with the addition of a little bit of brownies, like dark chocolate brownies. There's a little bit of that flavor coming in there that was really, really nice. Solid ash, perfect burn. The last third of this, the spices ramped up just a little bit. Cedar is a little more present, so you get a little more spice of cedar on that. And then coffee, dark chocolate, and brownies remain. Solid ash, perfect burn. This cigar cost me $9.35. Out of everything I just told you, absolute perfect burn. The fact that I've smoked so many of these and never, ever remember having an issue with it, I give it a 7.
Nice.
And I give it a 7 because of its absolute wonderful, classic quality, everything about it. Like, what a great cigar. It makes me happy.
It's easy to get focused on what's new.
Yeah.
And we think about that a lot here because we're always wanting to, let people know if something new has come out and we've had a chance to try it. We want to be able to share that with people. But sometimes it is really, I don't know, it's like an old friend going back to something classic that you've smoked before in the past and loved and enjoyed. And that was how I felt the last time I had one of the Rocky Patel 1990s.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I used to smoke a lot of these and loved them and hadn't had one in a while. And it was like, it was like seeing an old friend who'd been away for a while.
Yeah, and it's probably been, looking back, it's probably been a year since I smoked a Christoph.
Yeah.
I just, it's one of those that I always love and I always think, oh, yeah. And then I just don't pick it up because I'm going to try something new, try something different.
Out of curiosity, did you get anything else for your humidor, or is it still empty?
I bought one EPC Maduro inch Maduro to stick in there, so I'll have that probably later, and then I'll be out again. But that's okay. I need to go see Alan. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, it's a bad feeling when you open up the humidor. For me, it's not when it gets empty. For me, it's when I open it up and it's like, oh, those are all kind of crappy, just things I added over the. I don't want to smoke the quorum, really. That's not what I'm looking for today. That's when I start getting dismayed about my.
Well, see, and I've already gone through that.
Yeah.
And then blown through everything else. I'm like, well, this is what I got. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. A CI alternative to something. I guess I'll smoke it.
I have a little bit of a plan though. I am going to buy a bundle of those, and I reviewed it a while back. Was that the factory smokes Maduro?
Yes.
I'm going to buy a bundle of those. They're cheap. They're super cheap. For a bundle of 25, it's like less than $40.
Yeah.
And that's a great cigar just to have in there and have something in my humidor.
So I bought a bundle. It hasn't arrived yet, but I ordered it online. A bundle of cigars that Rocky Patel put together. I don't remember exactly what happened. I think they got. They were made special for somebody, and then that company went out of business, so we had them. So we sent them to Holtz. I ordered these from Holtz online.
I think I've seen the ones you're talking about. What are they called?
And I'm not remembering it off the top of my head. That's why I didn't say it.
I had them in my cart at one point. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what you're talking about.
I got a bundle of those coming, and I read the reviews on them, and people were raving about them, and they're super inexpensive. So I will bring you a couple of those once the bundle gets here, and we can see if this is a good.
So I had those in my cart last time. I bought a box of the EPC Inch Naturals.
Yeah.
And I smoked all of those, but they're so good. I love those inches. But I'm sorry. I'm talking all over your own cigar. What did you smoke this week?
I went the opposite of you. I didn't go with an old friend. I went with something that I'd never tried before.
You went with the strange.
Yes, I did. I went with a stranger. It was I made a trip to Casa de Monte Cristo. Yeah, that's right. I was stepping out with a new cigar. I went to Casa de Monte Cristo and said hello to Steve. I hadn't been in a while. And so I'm perusing the racks. And you've talked about this before, how at the end cap there on the aisle, they have these new things. And I was trying to remember if you'd reviewed this one or not. The Aging Room Bin number 2.
Yes.
Okay, so I picked one of these up, the Robusto. It's the B minor. Is that the one that you did?
Yep.
All right, so I don't remember off the top of my head what your review was like, so let's see how our reviews compare.
I just pulled it up. I'm interested.
All right. So the B minor, it's the Robusto size for bin number 2. There's 3 different sizes. This is a Nicaraguan Puro. It's blended by Rafael Nodal from Plasencia. And it's got a rich, oily, dark brown wrapper. Pre-light on this is deep and earthy with notes of leather and wood. Now, here's the thing about the bin number 2. It uses some very special and unusual tobacco. It is from Ometape, a volcanic island near Lake Nicaragua, where only a very small, it's a small island, so there's only a very small amount of tobacco grown on this island. But it's this super volcanic soil, and it's excellent and rich, and so the binder in this bin number 2 is omatape, and then they use fillers from the Jalapa and Esteli regions of Nicaragua. So you get that peppery Nicaraguan rush. I used a punch and lit it. Peppery Nicaraguan rush on the first few puffs, but it's balanced by this really interesting sweetness. I started to get some nutty flavors as I smoked it, and a bit of what I perceived as apple wood, along with black pepper and spice. By the second, third, that wood, I began to identify it more as kind of an oakiness instead of apple wood. But there was coffee, almost like coffee with cream. Like, you ever get coffee that has this really rich cream in it? That's what I detected on the second third of this. A lot of subtle flavors, including a hint of lemon zest, and there was leather on the retrohale. At least that's what I picked up. Final third was very similar. A little bit of that initial sweetness returned to balance things out very nicely. It left a great tang on my tongue, which is something that my favorite cigars all kind of have in common. I love that, just that little bit of tang on the tongue. Construction on this thing was outstanding. The burn was reasonably even, no issues, and the ash held on all the way to the first band. I was actually holding the cigar to take a picture of the ash, almost touching that first band, and then I was going to remove the band, and that was when the ash fell off. So fortunately, I didn't get it on my shirt. Anyway, it was outstanding construction. The strength, definitely medium full Nicaraguan cigar, like you kind of would expect. I do have to admit that's right in my zone as far as the kind of smokes that I like the best. I do have to say, though, I actually came into this review a little bit biased against this cigar. It's a $13 to $14 cigar.
$13.50
Yep.
is what I got written down.
I think it's I think that's too expensive for a Robusto. I really do. Unless this is something just out of this world. It feels like a Robusto ought to top out at 10 or 11. And it really should be in the 8 to 9 or less. It's just kind of where my head goes, because then I start comparing it to, AJ Fernandez,
God of Fire,
Toros, and right,
Yeah.
exactly, right. But you start comparing it to Toros, where you can get more cigar for $8 or $9 that are really, really good. So this Robusto is going to have to perform exceptionally. But in fairness, it may not be just aging room trying to price this high. That probably has to do with the Ometepe tobacco, because I would imagine that's expensive to get and blend in, right? So little of it available. So bottom line, I'm giving this cigar a 5, which is to say that it's worth every penny of a $13.50, $14 price tag, even as a Robusto. It's that good. To me, this is almost like, it feels like I've given it a 7 or an 8. I liked it so much. But it does feel pricey. So I'm going to say, yeah, it was worth it. I would buy this again at that price just to smoke completely for enjoyment. And I would recommend it highly. If this were a $9 cigar, I'd have given it like an 8. You know what I mean? I realize that's only a few dollars difference, and I'm not trying to be cheap. I'm just saying you start having to compare things to what else you can get at that same money.
So I want to talk about a couple interesting things that you said in here.
Okay.
So my review came from October 1st this year. So I did review it.
Wasn't that long ago?
No, wasn't that long ago.
Shows you how much attention I pay to your reviews that I didn't remember.
Right, you're like, well, I'm not even listening to your talk.
Whatever.
Ian's talking again. Let me play with my iPad. All right.
It's only funny if it's true.
I get it. No, so I actually, a lot of things that you said, I said, the sweet spices and the tanginess that keeps showing up throughout here was a thing. You mentioned the creamy coffee thing. So my first third of this, I put pepper is smooth and creamy, followed by tangy sweetness and wood, rich earth and coffee notes, following that up. So a little bit of the same thing.
We got some of the same stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the other thing you said? The spicy touch of sweetness on the retrohale. the cedar and oaky notes towards the end. I think you mentioned the woody notes.
Mm-hmm.
I actually mentioned that it had a slight chicory spice towards the end.
Oh, now see, I remember you talking about that.
But also that tangy sweetness in the background on the lips. My biggest issue with the cigar, and I gave it a solid 5, just like you. My biggest issue is I love the cigar, but it had a slightly uneven burn all the way down. I don't think I actually tended it, but it burned unevenly.
You could see if you were looking at the pictures on mine, it was not a razor straight burn like your Christoph, but it was never. I never looked at it and went, "Oh, this is going to be a problem." Like it was fine and kind of corrected itself, and then it burned a little faster on one side for a moment or two, but then it corrected itself. So I had zero issues with the burn.
Nice.
I don't expect every cigar to be razor
straight.
Yeah. It's just not going to be. Plus, it was a little breezy. That can affect that as well. So anyway, I enjoyed it though. I would recommend it super highly. It's the bin number 2 is worth it. Now I've only tried the Robusto. I'm now interested to see what the other sizes would be the same kind of smoking experience.
But a cigar like that too, that's like at that price point and at that complexity, I think we both agree that it's a very complex cigar.
Yes,
is really nice to sit down and enjoy. When you've got time to really think about your cigar.
It's a really great point. It's not one to smoke if you're. I know you can't hurry up and smoke a cigar. Someone once said, and I think I read it on a shirt.
Yeah.
But it's not one to smoke like while you're doing something.
Yeah, it's
you
not
know
a
what I mean?
lawnmower, that's for sure.
It's one to smoke when you're going to sit and contemplate and really take some time to enjoy the flavors and kind of pick up, because there's so much going on.
Right, because you can just smoke through it, but I mean, you do it an injustice because of the complexity of flavors.
And you do your pocketbook an injustice, because if you're just going to smoke through it, you could have taken a lot cheaper cigar.
Could get that Maduro that I had, Christoph Maduro that I had for a bit cheaper.
Yeah, and that was a longer cigar. Was that a Robusto?
That was Robusto.
Okay.
Now, here's a funny thing. I also made a note on my review of that cigar that it smoked a long time.
Yeah.
Like, it was an hour and 20 minutes, I think I wrote down.
Oh, nice.
So,
mine wasn't quite that long, but it was a little over an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, we got to take a break and come back, because I don't know about you, but I want some beer. And CyGourd is up next or up first, I should say, in our tasting today. It is the pumpkin ale from Southern Star Brewing, a great brewery out of Conroe, Texas. They're not a newbie to the craft brewing scene. They've been doing this for a while, and they have got their blonde bombshell is one of the better blondes.
Buried Hatchet.
Buried Hatchet. Are you kidding me?
Is one of the best stouts in existence.
It really is.
Hands down.
It's just
one
fantastic.
Of the best stouts in existence.
Every now and then I'll just pick up a 4-pack of that. Yep. And it's one of those where you go, oh, how many Buried Hatchets do I have left? Well, I've only got 2. Okay, I'll wait. I'll save those.
That's okay. You only need 2. They're like 9%.
All right, we'll be back with a little pumpkin ale from Southern Star. And, of course, we have a lot of interesting lists to get to today. So thank you for joining us. Smoking and Toasting, number 210. Another band with awesome horns.
Not overblown.
No, not at all. Suffers from Houston, Texas. If you have not checked them out, by the way, go check out their music. If you have a streaming service at this point, I know you do. So go use it and check out the Suffers.
Or just put up with the commercials.
Right, exactly. And I remember when back when David Letterman was still on the air and the Suffers were on Letterman, and they came out and I think they did that song, Make Some Room, and they just tore it up,
Yeah.
And what I loved about it was how excited Letterman got, because you could always tell when he's being polite about the musical guest on his show, and when it really got him, and he stands up from his desk and walks over and shakes Cam Franklin, the lead singer's hand. He goes, "If you can't do that, get out of the business," he said, which is such a Letterman thing to say. All right, welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 210. We are going to be talking about the best beer and breweries of 2020, according to a whole bunch of different lists that are out there. And we are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great shirts for you and for anybody on your holiday gift list this year that's a cigar smoker and you want to get something cool for them. All new designs available now at mycigarshirts.com, because
cigars.
Thank you. Ian, I don't know, what did you do on you? First of all, you did vote, right?
Yes.
Okay. And on election night, did you and your wife sit and watch the returns come in? Not that you
Well,
were
my
going to
wife
find
goes
out.
to bed pretty early.
Right.
So she's like, I'll just find out tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
that didn't happen.
work.
Yeah. It's Thursday here in the U.S. and we still don't know.
I stayed up till about midnight.
But did you watch the returns at all?
I watched a bit of them.
I watched for a while.
I had
and then I
kind of
watched
half an eye on them.
Yeah, I watched for a little while. Then I watched a movie, and then I went back and checked, and then I read, and then I went back and checked, and then I went to bed. But the reason I ask is because Google has just released some Google Analytics data on their own website for the evening of the U.S. elections for the evening of the 3rd. Searches for this phrase hit an all-time high on Google. Liquor stores near me. Not making this up. This is from Google. Google Trends actually posted those findings on Twitter during election night. They said searches for alcohol and fries near me were what scored
this is State of the
biggest.
Union according to Google.
Yeah, exactly. So, and by the way, the most searches for liquor stores near me originated in Delaware, followed by Maryland, Tennessee, and Georgia. So
That's telling.
that is telling, isn't it? Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. We are thrilled to be bringing you Smoking and Toasting. And Ian, I think we get right to the beer. Because I'm thirsty.
Oh, I'm down for that because I'm thirsty.
Right. So our first beer today, CyGourd. It is the pumpkin ale from
It's got the-
Southern Star Brewing.
I like the
yeah. Can we show that?
the graphic on there is like the classic War of the Worlds.
Yeah, except he's a pumpkin head. Which is great.
Robot alien thing, except for it's a pumpkin head
love
inside
it.
there. Yeah,
Southern Star.
jack-o'-lantern inside
I
there.
realize, being based here in Houston, we always have had to try to have some of the best Houston breweries on, and we finally had St. Arnold on this year, which was correcting a great wrong. One of the great wrongs we need to correct is we've never had Southern Star on the show. And they just make such great beers.
What is wrong with us?
What is wrong with us? We
tell them, look, bring whatever you want. Just make sure it's
make sure it says Buried Hatchet on the
Hatchet,
can.
yeah.
Exactly.
They also have their Black Crack, which is their bourbon barrel aged Buried
and
Hatchet.
I saw some of that in the store.
It's about $10 for a can
Yep,
for a tall boy of it. But man, it's just something special.
Black Crack, you gotta love it. Well, the
I
pumpkin
think I have
ale.
one left in my fridge. From
And by the way,
2 years ago.
we're doing pumpkin, at least one pumpkin beer on the show every week until Thanksgiving. And speaking of Thanksgiving, let me just take a look at the calendar. Thanksgiving falls on a Thursday. It is 3 Thursdays from today, so there will not be a Smoking and Toasting show. We will take the week of Thanksgiving off. But we have today's show and 2 more before
you might. I'm
Thanksgiving.
still going to drink on that day.
Well, I didn't say I was taking it off from drinking.
It's Thursday is my day drinking day.
I agree.
Like if I have to do it on a holiday, I have to do it.
Well,
I just may not
again,
do it in front of a camera.
The show just gives you an excuse for the day of drinking. You can drink on Thanksgiving. It's fine. You're going to want to drink if you're watching the Dallas Cowboys game, especially if you root for the Cowboys because they're so terrible this year.
Who's going to beat the Lions this year?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it won't be the Cowboys, I can tell you that. All right, so on the nose, the CyGourd Pumpkin Ale from Southern
It's got
Star.
a spicy smell to it.
I'm getting baking
like
spice.
a spicy, bacon spice, but almost like a tea spice. You'd get in a hot tea.
Now, it's so interesting you say that because maybe it's because you said it right as I was taking the sip, but that was the first thing that hit my mind. Like it tastes like a cold beer version of a really nice hot tea. It's just got real interesting autumn tea leaf.
Sweet pumpkin-y this is.
Mm-hmm.
It's very pumpkin-y, but it's not sweet pumpkin.
Right.
Pumpkin is not sweet. If you've ever had like pumpkin soup, which by the way is delicious.
Yes, it is.
Pumpkin in and of itself is not sweet. We always add a bunch of sugar to it because we get pumpkin pie.
And we
that's
put
the way most people are
whipped
introduced
cream
to
on the top and all that.
Yeah, that's the way most people are introduced to pumpkin, but it's not sweet in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it is its own flavor. And if you have never had a pumpkin soup, go have one.
Oh, yeah. Pumpkin soup is great.
Like when it's done right, it's outstanding.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is outstanding, too. I really like this. I really like how balanced it is. To be completely honest with you, I was expecting, and there is pumpkin here, but I was expecting more of that sweet pumpkin that you're talking about.
But this has less of the like with a lot of pumpkin ales, you get that dark sweetness and all those different spices bogging down. This has a brighter, crisper flavor overall to it.
It really does, and it's really quite delicious.
So if you can imagine a pumpkin pie, and then you take out most of the sweetness, you add some beer and a light crispy finish to it. Because the hops do justice in this. Like the end of this, the way this finishes with that crisp and just a slight bitter kiss is really, really nice.
I'm telling you, you're absolutely on the nose with this. You do detect the hops, but you don't really detect them until the finish. Whereas with a lot of these kinds of beers, it seems like you get the hops up front and then it finishes with something else.
Pumpkin and sweet, yeah.
In this case, it finishes with the hops, but not in a super bitter kind of a way. It's real clean, and the finish is very clean.
Now, the hops do exactly like this. The artistry of the hops in this is that they do exactly what it's supposed to do. It finishes the beer. It doesn't leave you a lingering bunch of sweet. It gives you a nice crisp, almost apple consistency kind of crispness to it, you know?
I was thinking the next time we have a representative from a brewery on, if they do any kind of a pumpkin ale, I'd love to ask them this question. In order for them to get their pumpkin ales brewed and on the shelves of...
When do they have to start?
Right, when do they have to start? And are pumpkins even in season at that time? Is it difficult to get ripe enough pumpkins at the time they need to make the beer in order to get it out? I don't know enough about pumpkins to know, but I'm assuming they're a bit like melons in that they're riper in certain times of the year. You could sort of grow them all year, but they're really best in season. Maybe I'm wrong about it.
Curious.
Adam, do you know anything about that, about pumpkins? No? Okay. All right. Adam's brother was telling me all about pumpkins earlier this week, so I thought maybe he and Adam had shared some of that knowledge with each other. But
Aaron knows stuff.
He does know stuff. He's we were all together over at Aaron's house, and we tasted a very interesting beer. I can't even remember the name of it now, but boy, it was very high alcohol content, and we really, really enjoyed it. That's all I can remember. No, it was one of the
These
special
stories
things.
are starting to sound like mine.
Yeah, I was going to say it was one of those things I'd had stuck
a really
away.
Interesting beer that I can't remember the name of with some guys, and I can't remember their names either. At a place that
I think I was going to bring this on the show, but I didn't know anything about it. It was one of those things I'd gotten a long time ago, and it was just kind of I call it cellaring, but really it's a beer closet. It's not a cellar. But I've just had it for a long time, and I thought, better try this. It might go bad, and it was one of those things. And anyway, it was really good.
Take a picture of it next time.
I will. I should do that anyway.
And then your camera can be cluttered with random pictures that you can't sort through.
It's kind of that way because I always try to take pictures of the cigars that I'm going to talk about. So when I go back and look through like my photos on my phone, it's like 80% cigar pictures.
Yep.
but that's okay. I wanted to recognize one of our Texas breweries that we just think is awesome, the Shiner Beer Brewery.
Spotzel Brewery
in Shiner, Texas. The owner of Shiner has contributed $1 million to community labs across the state for COVID testing.
Nice.
Which I thought, that's I mean, you talk about beers. Now, Shiner obviously has great distribution, so they're in the stores and but all of those bars that pour Shiner on tap, which in Texas is a lot of bars.
Oh, it is the beer on tap in Texas.
And it's, many of those are shut down, or if they've been allowed to reopen, there are limitations on, how much business they can have in the place at one time. So Shiner they've got their own struggles just like any other brewery.
Here's another thought to consider,
COVID,
too. If your bar shut down while you had just opened a Shiner keg, that keg's gone now.
Mm-hmm.
It's no good.
So for Shiner to donate $1 million, I thought, in the middle of all this, I just thought that was a very, very cool thing for them to do.
That's pretty awesome.
And it's not like they donated $1,000.
No.
It was $1 million.
$1 million. That's big.
Yeah, from the owner.
Their brewery
of
has grown. Have you been by there?
I haven't in quite a while, actually.
It's so beautiful. When I first went by there, it was just the two buildings, basically one facing the road and one kind of making an L shape. And now they've expanded it, and it's just this big, gorgeous ground, and it's gone back further towards the water that goes back through there. And then there's And then there's this great front yard where you can all gather and just kick around a ball and drink
That's so
beers
cool.
and stuff. It's absolutely wonderful.
My wife enjoys when she goes to the grocery store. She enjoys putting one of those sampler 6-packs together and bringing it home and seeing if she can find anything that I haven't tasted before. We always call it the unveiling when I pull the beers out of the 6-pack
Nice.
and go, "Oh, I haven't tried this! Awesome!" But she brought me home one of the Shiner coffee ales last week. And, man, that thing is delicious. Just a really, really good.
Is it high brew?
I think.
Or am I thinking of something else?
See, this is why I should take pictures of everything I drink. Okay, I'm gonna have a lot of pictures of beer on my phone. Going with
It's
cigar
getting time
pictures.
for Real Ale to do their coffee porter too, which is
that's
so good.
That is so good.
Like Real Ale, I think is consistently one of the best coffee porters out there.
And you know who else does a lot of beers that may have some coffee in them at a holiday stretch of the year is Buffalo Bayou.
Yeah.
They do those really nice bombers with awesome creations in them. Looking forward to that. Okay, also looking forward to getting into our list of the best beers. We got drinking news on the way, and we'll also be going a different direction with our next beer. It should be very interesting. It is Cigar City Brewing's Fancy Papers Hazy IPA.
Interesting.
These guys haven't missed yet with me. Every single Cigar City beer that I've had, I've thought has been excellent.
Their Madero's so good.
So looking forward to that. It's coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we will be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we are thrilled to be bringing you our 210th show.
We've been around a while. We're getting old.
We really are. It's like we should have accomplished some great things by now. I'm starting to feel a little inadequate. You know, we should be broadcasting from the top of the Empire State Building and stuff. Welcome back. Anyway, our program is brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com because
Cigars.
Yeah, go check them out. They are a wonderful sponsor of the program. Well, Ian, every now and then we have news to share about another craft beer company that has been acquired, sometimes by Big Beer, sometimes by, some sort of a consortium, but a little different one today. The company that makes the Sweetwater beers has been acquired by a company from Canada that is a cannabis company.
Okay.
Well, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, because Sweetwater's the one that they've got that whole line of cannabis-infused beers. Now, on all of those beers, it's just the flavor of the cannabis, none of the the THC or anything that causes it. If there's any intoxicating effect from those beers, it's from the alcohol,
right.
not from the cannabis. But I'm not a huge fan of those beers simply because that's a nice aroma if you like that aroma, but I don't know how I like that on my tongue.
No.
You know what I mean? So I've still not quite adjusted to those. I've had a few of them, the 420 series and the different ones they do, and they're very interesting. Very interesting to try, but I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like really crazy about those kind of beers yet. Are you? Was that something you would like?
The cannabis flavor?
Yeah.
I don't know that something I'd seek out. It's nah.
Well,
It's
in any
not.
case,
It's not a flavor I think to myself. When I smell weed burning,
right.
I'm like, oh, it's weed.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes it's skunky weed, sometimes not. But I never think to myself, ooh, that smells delicious. So I don't know.
It's not one of those things
But
like
that
sometimes.
might be an acquired thing because I
Sure.
like the way cigars smell.
Right, and not everyone does.
And not everybody does,
Somebody
so.
go, oh, that cigar stinks, and you're like, this cigar smells great. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that could very well be. Well, I will mention this, that they also have a number of Sweetwater also has a number of non-cannabis beers.
Right.
They have a really tasty IPA that I enjoy sometimes, and they got a great Pilsner. There's a number of great things in their lineup. But anyway, they were acquired by Aphria, APHRIA, and the company is based in Canada. Their stock jumped 11% after they agreed to buy Sweetwater for $300 million.
Ooh,
I would not have guessed that Sweetwater Brewing was worth $300 million.
good for them.
That seems like a lot. Yeah. So congrats to Sweetwater, and I hope our brothers to the north take care of the brand.
So there's only been a few times on this show where we've talked about a company being acquired or merging with or being bought by, where we look at it and go, awesome, congratulations.
Yeah, that could be cool. Yeah, right.
That'd be cool. Like for instance, Dogfish Head and
Dogfish Head and Boston Beer Company.
Boston Beer Company. I think that's cool. And that's integrity, staying with integrity. I think that this is the same kind of thing. Man, congratulations to those guys for building a dream and then selling it for $300 million. That's
I know. Oh, I know. If you think about, I mean, that's enough money to go around. You know what I'm saying? All right. So, Beer and Brewing Magazine, Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine, is a very interesting publication. You can find them all over the web. They do every year a Reader's Choice, and they've released the results of Reader's Choice. So, what I like about this is, while it's interesting, obviously, to see what beer critics have to say, it's to me in many ways more interesting to see what people have to say.
So this is more like the popular vote instead of the
electoral college. Yes,
right.
Exactly. So let me just read you a little bit about how these lists are determined. They polled thousands of their magazine and newsletter subscribers from craft beer. The Craft Beer and Brewing is the name of the website and the magazine. Thousands of their magazine and newsletter subscribers were polled, and they asked for everything from your favorite beers and favorite breweries to what hops you love to brew with. So this is a magazine that obviously appeals very much to home brewers. They're presented here under the headers labeled Reader's Choice. To make it easy to follow, they've placed all the Reader's Choice categories on this one particular list. So you do some opening and some pouring. I'll start at the bottom of this list and work our way up because there's 50 beers. Stop me anytime you want to discuss any of these. These are best beers of 2020. So it's not breweries. It's a beer made by the brewery. Starting at number 50, they do one that I have not ever tasted, the Old Nation M43 IPA. Apparently was 46 last year. At 49, the Bierstadt Lagerhaus Slow Pour Pills. That is new to the list. I have not tasted that one either. I have tasted number 48. It's the Left Hand Nitro Milk Stout.
Yeah.
Which I do actually enjoy. Interesting to me that it made the list, but I get it. It was number 50 last year, 48 this year. Fremont Brewing's Lush made the list. We haven't tried Lush, have we?
Haven't tried Lush.
We need to put that on the list to be looking for. That
sounds like a juicy IPA, though.
It's new to the list. It comes in at number 47. Fathead's Headhunter is at number 46. That's also new, and another one that we have not tried. At 45, Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA.
Oh, man.
That's such a good IPA.
Great.
Yeah.
Great beer.
And there's going to be several familiar ones here. At 44, Bell's Brewery's Hop Slam, which makes the list for the first time. Sierra Nevada's Celebration Ale at 43. Russian River's Blind Pig comes in at number 42. It was 28 on the list last year. I haven't had the Blind Pig.
I haven't had it either.
We have trouble getting Russian River beers here in Texas, I think, which is kind of a bummer.
Rivers go slow.
Great Lakes Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. It's at number 41, which I have to say, on one hand, that's really cool, interesting and cool name. Number two, damn you, Great Lakes. That stupid song's going to be in my head for the rest of the day. No, don't do it. No. That is one of the worst earworm songs of all time. Not that it's a
great song.
Not that it's a terrible song, but it will not leave
Gordon
you.
Lightfoot.
It will not. I love Gordon Lightfoot, but that song won't leave you alone.
The Wreck of the Memphis. And the thing is, like, there's not a true chorus to it, so you can only remember like the bit that you can mumble. Like or just a line
Edmund
or two.
Fitzgerald. That's what I remember. Sounds like it's a celebratory anthem, and it's about a ship going down. But anyway, now thank you to this list for that. I'm going to be trying to exorcise that earworm all day for the rest of the day. Yeah. Maybe you can.
Old lake they call get you goomy.
Maybe you can help me with a little ukulele later to put a different song in my brain.
I'll try.
At number 40, Deschutes Fresh Squeezed IPA, which I really enjoy.
I haven't tried that, but I like Deschutes.
Yep. 39 is Half Acres Daisy Cutter. Number 38, Firestone Walker's Union Jack IPA, a very good good IPA. Deschutes comes back on the list again at 37 with the Black Butte Porter.
Oh, that's a great beer.
And at number 36, a new entry this year, Samuel Adams Oktoberfest. So I'm guessing this.
I haven't tried Samuel Adams Oktoberfest, have we?
I don't think we have. This must have gone on during Oktoberfest time. That's probably why it was on people's minds and made the list. So that's Sam Adams at 36. Number 35, North Coast's Old Rasputin Stout.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep.
That's a good one.
And then the Alchemist Focal Banger is at number 34. Alchemist is another brewery that we have trouble getting their beers down here. So I don't even know if I can pronounce this, but I'm going to take a stab at it. Weihenstephaner, Weihenstephaner. Weihenstephaner, thank you. And then it's their Hefeweißburger, which sounds interesting. It comes in at number 33. Of course, as I think you can clearly tell, neither of us have tried that. We have tried Tank 7 Farmhouse Ale from Boulevard.
Yes, that's a great beer.
That's at 32. Lawson's Finest Sip of Sunshine IPA comes in at number 31.
Don't know it.
And at number 30 on the list is Yuengling's Traditional Lager.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll pause there and do a little tasting. Ian, you're ahead of me on this.
I have.
So this is from Cigar City Brewing out of Tampa, Florida. It's a brewery I love and respect. They not only do great IPAs, but their Maduro Brown Ale is one of the best brown ales I've ever had.
I didn't even notice until I started reading this, but like take a sip of this.
Woo, baby.
And mango and tangerine.
It's all mango on
mango
my
and
first taste, but yes,
and it's explosive.
There's the tangerine on the finish. Mango up front. There's the tangerine on the finish.
With notes of mango and tangerine, this juicy IPA was developed with the same kind of craftsmanship and artistry that can be found in labels printed on fancy papers and applied to the lids of cigar boxes of yesteryear.
Okay, so that's what. So all of their beers have some kind of cigar theme to the name, and so this is about the labels that would go into cigar boxes. Is what you're telling me. Okay, makes sense.
Printed on fancy paper, brewed with Strata and Idaho 7 hops.
Ian, this is delicious.
6.5. It is actually. This is an outstanding. Beer
it's got such great balance to it. It's hoppy, but it doesn't like assault you with the hops. You know what I mean?
Right, and the finish is absolutely delightful and brilliant.
The finish is tangerine.
Yes.
And tangerine on the retrohale. Up front, it's all mango, and then it kind of dissolves.
So if you like a
tangerine.
fruity IPA, this is right up your alley. But
it's not super citrusy. Like
you're
not getting orange and lemon like you get in some of the IPAs. But boy, is it fruity! It's really delicious.
I think this makes it more fun because it's less sour, it's less bitter.
Well,
sour is the wrong word.
There are so many and some of them are just absolutely delicious, but there are so many of the hazies and the juicies that are out now that are that orange marmalade milkshake kind of a vibe. One of the things about this is it's so different.
Well, this leaves out the creaminess feel that you get in a lot of those.
It's a beer mouthfeel, not a milkshake mouthfeel. Yeah. Boy, that's good.
It's also not like. It's not hazy to the point of pulpy orange juice, which is not entirely bad either. I like pulpy orange juice.
Yes. I like that style of IPA very much. But this is delightful. Nice, it's different.
In the realm of hazy IPAs, this is a nice breath of fresh air, so to speak.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. I like it. Let me give you a few more off of this list. The Orval from Brasserie de Orval is at number 29. Founders Canadian Breakfast Stout at number 28.
That's such a good beer.
It really is a great beer. At number 27, one of my all-time perennial favorites, Stone IPA. Not one of the derivative IPAs that they do, all of which are delicious, but just the regular old, good old Stone IPA, which you can actually even find in the grocery store now sometimes.
It's a great IPA.
It's a really, really good IPA. Oscar Blues Dale's Pale Ale comes in at number 26.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Actually wasn't on the list last year. This year it comes in at 26. Toppling Goliath's King Sue at 25. I have had that. It's not one of my favorites, but I understand it has a huge following.
I don't think I've had that one. We hadn't had that one on the show.
Has a huge following, yeah. New Belgium Fat Tire Amber Ale at number 24.
All right, so Fat Tire is old and it's classic. And when you buy Fat Tire fresh...
Yeah.
It's so delicious.
What I love about Fat Tire is if I'm going to have a cigar, and let's say I'm at a bar that's got like an outdoor area and I can go out and have a cigar, right? And I look around trying to figure out, okay, what beer am I going to have that is likely to go with the cigar? Fat Tire is a great
Oh,
choice.
absolutely.
It has this chocolate undertone to it that just marries with so many cigars so well. I love Fat Tire. And it's also...
I'm sad about New Belgium a little bit.
yeah, me too. But the beer's still good.
Yeah.
At number 23, Dogfish Head's 60-minute IPA.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because I love both the 60 and the 90, but the 60 came in higher on the list than the 90. Your thoughts?
I like the 90 more, but 90's a little more extreme. You are talking to a guy who about 2 nights ago also drank a 120-minute.
Yeah, now that's when I'm not just going to drink. I'm going to get serious. You know what I mean?
I was kickstarting the show.
Yeah, for you for sure. I will say I love all 3 of those. The 120s I will not drink very often just
Right.
because it's when you're like, okay, I'm serious. The 90s are they're just so excellent. The 60 is more drinkable though.
But I think the 90-minute out of all of them, the 90-minute is the pinnacle of the style. I mean, the 90-minute IPA is literally like, if you want to know what a great IPA is.
Yeah, it's good.
You know,
It's
I mean,
really
that's
good.
up there with the Stone, and it's up there with, like the Two Hearted, and it's up there
Right.
with, it's like, those are some super good
We'll see if
IPAs.
Two Hearted makes this list. I have a feeling
I bet
we're
they will.
going to be mentioning it soon. At number 22, this is a beer we had on the show, the Treehouse Julius IPA.
Yeah.
And I remember I liked it. Of course, I almost always like the IPAs unless they're just really.
I don't remember what I said about that one.
Yeah,
I remember having it.
We'll have to go back and look. Coming in at number 21, Sierra Nevada's Torpedo. Now, let me just say, I think of Torpedo, and I love Sierra Nevada. Their pale ale to me is just fantastic. The Torpedo, though, is one that I have to be ready for the way I'm ready for a 120 from Dogfish Head. It's
don't remember the
that
last
kind
time
of
I had
like
a Torpedo.
really
I've had
intense. It's intense.
Yeah. But
And
I don't
it's
remember the last time.
very hoppy. I would think it would be one that wouldn't be to your palate, just because it's so hoppy.
I might have to seek it out and buy a bottle and try it.
We'll buy a
Just for you.
6-pack and split it.
All right.
That'll work. I enjoy it from time to time. Firestone Walker's Pivo Pills at number 20. Three Floyd's Zombie Dust Pale Ale at number 19. At 18, it's Weldworks Juicy Bits IPA, which we've had on the show and was very, very good. The Alchemist Heady Topper comes in at number 17. Again, The Alchemist, we have trouble getting their beers here.
Send
so-
us your beer, Alchemist.
Yeah, but that makes lists every year. Yeah, please, Alchemist, do it. New Belgium's Voodoo Ranger is at 16. That's an IPA. I have to be honest, it's not one of my favorite. I love New Belgium in general, and Voodoo Ranger is very good. It's not one I seek out as much as others.
I think Voodoo Ranger is as good as a run-of-the-mill as you're going to get. I
Yeah.
don't think it's bad. I think it's okay, but I don't think it's an outstanding IPA.
Yeah. I will say the same about Toppling Goliath's Pseudo Sue, which comes in at number 15. I've had it. I've enjoyed it, but it's not one I would rank this high on the list just as it plays to my particular palate. But I know it's extremely popular. Like this is a beer with a following in the Pseudo Sue, and it's the one with the big T-Rex on the
Right,
can,
right.
if you remember that. We had it on the show a long time ago. Coming in at number 14, and I'm so proud of these guys for being on this list and not being overlooked because they've been around so long. Samuel Adams Boston Lager at
Good.
14. Yeah, very happy about
They
that.
earned that.
At number 13, Goose Island makes the list. It is, of course, with their Bourbon County brand stout, which is, it's one of those things that, like, Anheuser-Busch hasn't been able to screw it up yet. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
I mean, I'm sure they'll find a way, but they haven't done it yet.
Number 12, I'm not a big fan of Pilsner Urquell. There's something about the aftertaste of Pilsner Urquell that just doesn't quite work for me.
I've had it. I don't remember thinking
At least it has flavor.
too much
though.
about it one way or the other.
At least it
but
has
yeah.
flavor. That's how I go. That's how I go down on that one. Founders Kentucky Breakfast Stout at number 11.
Yeah.
And Founders Breakfast Stout at number 10.
Yeah.
Both of which are great. Cigar City's High Life IPA comes in at number 8. But I skipped number 9. One of my absolute go-to favorites, Sierra Nevada's Hazy Little Thing,
Oh, yeah.
Hazy IPA. So both the Hazy Little Thing and the High
The
Life.
hazy little thing is a good little IPA.
And the highlight is great, and so is the one at number 7, Founders All Day IPA. I just bought some of that last week. That's just such an easy drinking, enjoyable beer. Really good.
All day.
Brasserie DuPont's Saison DuPont comes in at number 6. Allagash White comes in at number 5. And now we're into the top 5. Number 4, Guinness Extra Stout.
That's my least favorite of
It's
the
your
Guinness.
least favorite of all the Guinness. I know. We've talked about that. At number 3, Russian River's Pliny the Elder IPA. Again,
Don't know.
I've only had that bottle that was past its prime. It was still pretty good.
Still pretty good, yeah.
But I really have got to try that. So I guess I've just got to travel to somewhere where you can buy it. That's the only thing I can do. At number two, Bell's Brewery Two-Hearted IPA.
Wow, yeah.
And at number 1 on this list, interestingly enough, I'm going to say the same thing I said about Sam Adams. Proud of him for being here and not being, thought of as old hat. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, number 1.
Wow.
So it was number 2
Sierra
last
Nevada
year.
Pale Ale is an absolute classic as well.
It really is, and it's one of those that if you're ever standing there, you can't figure out what to get. It's just one of those.
Oh, yeah.
You'll never go wrong with that. So, I'm noticing when I'm buying beer now, especially if I'm down at my favorite specs. There is a little bit of decision paralysis. There's so much.
Yeah.
You could just fill your cart with stuff, but then you're like, I don't have that much room in the beer fridge still. So it's decision paralysis for sure. There's so much great stuff. But these, as I'm fond of saying, are the kinds of problems to have.
Yeah, that's not the worst problems to have.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to take a break. More beer lists when we come back, and I believe it's tequila time. We're going to be tasting.
I also want to know why there's a stick in your cigar.
Oh, yes. See, thank you for reminding me. If you just leave it to me, I'm going to leave stuff out. That's the way it always works. And coming up on this show, the Azuñia Estate, crafted Anejo tequila. And we still have drinking news coming up. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. If we don't amuse anyone else, we at least amuse ourselves, and I think that makes it worth doing. That plus the great stuff we get to drink, it totally works for me. Welcome back to show number 210. We're talking about the best beers and breweries of 2020. We are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Great designs there, and there's also like sweatshirts and hoodies now available.
Oh no, I'm going to be making an order pretty soon
so
on that.
Very excited about that. Ian, I feel like I need to apologize to you, my friend. Because normally, if I'm bringing in the spirit for a particular show, I have done the difficult work of removing the initial plastic wrapper from the cork, and also tried to make sure I open it up and give the spirit a little bit of room to breathe in the bottle. And that isn't the case today. You had to take the plastic off.
I'm having to do the extra work here.
Yeah. So I'll try to be better about that. Oh, that's music.
That was a good sound.
That's music to my ears.
I kind of
right
like
now.
it when you get the little scrunchy cork sound.
Yes,
I didn't get that, but but the pop was worth it.
So I was supposed to talk about this last week. There was a very interesting and informative article that Cigar Aficionado ran about why is there a stem in my cigar? Waiter, there's a stem in my cigar. So I wanted to pass this along, and I thought you and I would enjoy talking about this, Ian. Handmade cigars are made with 2 ingredients.
No stems, no seeds that you don't need.
Right. See, you're kind of used to thinking from that culture that stems are not what you want, right?
Right.
But handmade cigars are made with two ingredients: tobacco and time. That's it. That's all that goes. If you think about that, that's all that goes into a cigar. It's all tobacco. Even cigarettes, you get tobacco, you get paper, you get a filter. Cigars, it's all tobacco. Mm-hmm. So at the center of each tobacco leaf, and you remember seeing this from when we were down in Honduras at the factory down there for Aladino. At the center of every leaf is that thick linear structure known as the midrib, which is basically a stem. It's a natural part of long filler tobacco. The vascular system of a tobacco plant is responsible for delivering nutrients to the cells of the leaf, and most tobacco leaves
We've
are
all
fairly
seen
large.
a picture of a maple leaf.
Yeah.
It looks exactly the same except for bigger. And
bigger and more tobacco-y.
More tobacco-y, yes.
Okay, good. I'm glad we agreed on that description. So while veins may not be as pretty to look at, and sometimes you'll look at a cigar and like
You'll
the
see
wrapper just
veins
seems so
around it,
clear,
yeah.
but sometimes you see the big veins on it. And they may not be as pretty to look at. They can also be full of flavor. So that's
Flavor.
because this is the transmission line basically for the nutrients that go to the entire leaf. So the stems are essentially the same thing. A dried stem or two within the filler is no cause for alarm, and in this article from Cigar Aficionado, can actually contribute to a cigar's strength, structure, and combustion rate. When the stem is removed from the tobacco leaf, that becomes a wrapper. Removing the stem leaves a cigar maker with 2 wrappers, one from each half of the cigar, and then the leaves that become filler actually keep a part of their stems. So sometimes when you, I've noticed this using a punch on cigars more so than because if you use a clip, it kind of slices the whole thing across evenly.
Right.
With a punch, you're pulling off that cap
plug,
and sometimes there will be a little part of a stem right in that part that you've opened up. And I've always wondered, should I try to pull that out? Is that bad?
Don't do that.
It's not. Don't do that. Number one, you'll create unnecessary airflow in the cigar unless it's plugged or something. And
if it is, however, poking out of the hole that you punched,
snip it off.
It's fine to just bite it off and
bite it off,
spit
snip
it
it
out.
off. Exactly. Roughly 1/3 of the stem is removed from filler tobacco, resulting in a leaf that they say looks like a pair of frog's legs. And a tobacco stem is the thickest towards the stalk of the plant, and this is the portion that they remove when they remove the stem from the cigar. The rest of that leaf, including that bit of stem, is rolled into the heart of the cigar, the filler, which is wrapped in a big binder leaf, creating the bunch. The thicker the tobacco, the thicker the stem will be in what. So if you're looking at a Corojo wrapper for that. Corojo is a thicker leaf, right? So it's going to have a thicker stem to begin with. So anyway, if there's some pieces of stem in your fine cigars, it's not a flaw. It's just part of the process. Speaking of process, I see you're ahead of me on the sampling on the tequila.
Do you like vanilla?
For some reason, my mind went to the airplane movies. Do you like gladiator stories?
Do you like movies about gladiators?
I do like vanilla. Yes, absolutely.
Do you like pepper?
I enjoy pepper, yes.
Yeah. And some classic agave. This is a bomb of those 3 things.
Well, it's interesting on the nose. I can pick up all 3 of those elements.
Yeah, but the nose has a little more complexity. And I've only taken 1 sip, so it may be that it develops more complexity. But right now, it is a vanilla pepper agave bomb.
So I'm getting, wow, interesting. The tequila hug on this comes sneaking back up on you. I get the pepper right away. I get the pepper and agave up front, vanilla on the finish, but then there's also some. Is it maple? What am I getting in there?
Maybe in there.
That's also in there with the
There's
vanilla.
a little sweetness in there.
There is
it's
a
almost like a
sweetness.
cane sugar or a maple or a. Let's see what the bottle says.
That's really good. That's a very good tequila. They have not. Okay, so here's the difference between this and a couple of the tequila añejos that we've tasted that we've really liked is this has all of the flavor, but they have not smoothed it out. You still know you're drinking tequila.
But you're picking up more stuff like now that
Right.
like, I've stopped drinking it. There's a bunch of other flavors jumping
Even
in
a
there.
little citrusy something on my tongue.
Yeah,
there.
there's like almost a lime slightly in the background and a warm kind of sweetness, like a chocolatey or a mocha-ish kind of thing.
Yep.
So
I'm like, yeah, there's definitely some chocolate there on the finish. I didn't notice it. It's so interesting, the power of suggestion.
yeah,
Because
you never know.
I didn't pull that out, and you said chocolate or mocha, and immediately I was like,
it's the
there
very
it
end,
is.
way out on the finish, and then retrohale.
It's one of the reasons I always say to people who are trying to learn to develop their palates, read some reviews and then see if you can taste that
Yeah,
when you
so you can
taste
pick 'em out.
a cigar
Azuñia-
or a spirit or whatever.
Azuñia is estate-crafted tequila with smooth, authentic flavor in every sip. It's smooth. Smooth. It's an exclusive export of Agaveros Unidos de Amatitian. Amatitan. Amatitian?
Amatian?
Yes. And it's Rancho Miraville Distillery. Okay, I slaughtered that, but you know.
This is a really good tequila.
100% Weber Blue Agave from dedicated fields in the Jalisco lowlands. We bottle small batches using a traditional process to deliver consistent field-to-bottle quality. Azuñia Anejo is rich with fruit. I don't get a lot of fruit.
Yeah.
Caramel essences. I can get the caramel. That's probably
Well, I got a little bit of fruit. I got a little bit of citrusy on it.
savor. It's smooth, buttery finish. I can go with buttery finish, definitely. Of vanilla, spice, chocolate, and caramel.
The difference, though, between this and some of the
They
really
don't mention-
smooth tequilas that we've had is this tequila hug comes back in a
It's substantial.
little more substantial way.
Yeah, it's-
It's just when you're drinking like the Skelly or the one that we had on that was so good several weeks ago. It almost drinks too smooth in a way. Like it could really sneak up on you if you're drinking a lot of it. This you're having a spirit. You know
Well,
what I
I
mean?
think they just generically said spices on there, but it's pepper. Mm-hmm. It is very pepper.
Agreed. It's also very good. So here's an interesting group of lists that I want to share from the craft beers we enjoy a little more of this tequila. They really go into a lot of detail at the Craft Beer and Brewing magazine, and they've had their readers respond and break down favorite brewers by style.
Oh,
So these are 20 brewery lists. I'm just going to go with the top 10 from every style, or we'll have a 9-hour show because it's really long. So let's start with favorite lager brewer. At number 10 is Eyinger.
no, Einger's good.
Number 9 is Frem, or as I like to call them, P-Frem.
P-Frem.
Pilsner Urquell at 8. Firestone Walker at 7. Dovetail at 6. This is for lager.
Haven't had Dovetail.
Suarez Family, I have not had that, at 5. Yangling at number 4, I would agree with that. Samuel Adams at number 3, I would almost put that at number 1, but that's because I don't know if I've had number 2 or 1 on this list. Bierstadt Lagerhaus, have you had their
I don't
lagers?
think so. Bierstadt sounds real familiar to me.
That's
you mentioned
number 2.
that earlier. That's the same
Yeah.
beer, I think, in the other list.
And then Jack's Abbey at number 1. And I haven't had
I
Jack's
haven't had
Abbey.
either one of those, I don't think.
So that's the reason I would have put Sam Adams at number 1 on that list. But and if you think about, most lagers have that sort of similar lager taste, and Sam Adams doesn't. It's got its lager almost reminds me flavor-wise of an ale, but they do it with the characteristics of a lager, and I've always thought that was just so good. Pale ales at number 10, Lagunitas. I do enjoy their pale ale. Treehouse at number 9, Half Acre at 8. Trillium at 7. Bell's comes in at number 6. Toppling Goliath at 5. That's the popularity of the Pseudo Sue I was talking about. Hill Farmstead at 4. This is for pale ale, not IPA, but pale ale. Three Floyds at number 3. Oscar Blues at number 2. Dale's Pale Ale.
Yeah.
And I agree with 1 and 2 for sure. Number 1, Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
Probably just, and certainly the best known.
Yeah.
But in terms of a go-to pale ale, hard to go wrong with that one. Favorite sour or wild ale brewer? I'll go through these quickly. DeGard at number 10, Jolly Pumpkin at 9, Casey at 8, Wicked Weed at 7, 6 is New Belgium, 5 is Cascade, 4 is Crooked Stave, 3 is Russian River, 2 is Jester King, and Cantillon is number 1.
Oh.
I'll just go through the favorite Abbey style. Unibrow at number
Yum.
10. Roquefort at number 9.
Yum.
Lost Abbey at number 8. Love them. Westfalteren, I think is how you pronounce
Question
it.
mark.
I'm not familiar with it. It's at 7. New Belgium at 6. Notice how many different categories New Belgium's showing up in. West Molly at 5. Chimay at 4. St. Bernardus at 3, Allagash at 2, and Omegang at number 1.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I would pretty much agree with
That's
that.
a great list right there.
Favorite saison, here's the top 10, and this is not beer but brewery. Holly Mountain at 10, Side Project at 9, Funkworks at 8.
Funkworks.
I love me some Funkworks. Santa Adarius at 7, Omegang at 6,
Oh, yeah.
Jester King at 5, Allagash at 4. Number 3 is Boulevard. Number 2 is Hill Farmstead. We've had some of their stuff, and it's been great. And DuPont at number 1.
Nice.
So not bad for Saison. Favorite Hazy IPA brewer. Number 10 is Old Nation. Number 9 is Hill Farmstead. 8 is Hop Butcher. I've had Hop Butcher. That's good. Monkish at 7. I have not had theirs. Trillium again at 6. Weldworks at 5. Number 4 is Other Half. Number 3 is The Alchemist. Number 2 is Sierra Nevada. And number 1 is Treehouse. Now, there's no mention of Parrish in there, which throws me off. In fact, they are on the list, though, at number 17. So at least they got recognized. But we're just kind of going over the top 10 on these. You can find all of these lists, by the way, by going to Craft Beer and Brewing magazine. Favorite Hazy IPA we just did. Favorite American IPA. The top 10, Breakside at number 10. Odell at number 9. Number 8 is Firestone Walker. Number 7, Treehouse. Number 6, Lagunitas. Number 5, Dogfish Head. Number 4, Bell's. Number 3, Sierra Nevada. Number 2, Stone. And Russian River takes the number 1 spot.
Okay,
so,
that's
Pliny the Elder, right? So, again, hard for me to feel like Russian River should be at number 1, but that's because I don't really get to drink their beers. So, and finally, the last of these lists is... Let me go back to it. I saved it last for you. Favorite stout or porter brewer?
All right.
At number 10, Bottle Logic. Trillium comes in at number 9. Side Project at 8. Fremont at number 7. North Coast at number 6. 5 is Goose Island. 4 is Left Hand. 3 is Bell's. 2 is Founders. And number 1... switching place with Founders, which was number 1 last year. Number 1 this year is Guinness. So, very interesting. So that's, I think, an interesting group of lists. When you go at it by style, like who is your favorite?
Yeah, it's a different thing.
Right. Who is your favorite? Like I would say probably my favorite IPA brewer overall is Stone.
Right.
But they may not have my favorite IPA.
Right.
So it's just, anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. All right, let's take a break. We're going to return with some drinking news. Our drinking news headline for this week, we were going to do this one last week, and then I stumbled across the guy who tried to give the taco as his ID, and he was a Florida man, so he went out. But this is a good story, too. Our drinking news for this week, the headline, I just wanted beer. And we'll be back with that in just a moment. It's Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for being here for Show 210. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Oh, I like the way you put both of those on there. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are bringing you show number 210, talking about the best craft beers according to lists, and we're also about to bring you drinking news. And we had some interesting comments we might want to address from the comments feed on the show today. Ian, for one thing, I noticed that. Stan Nelson said, thanks for the heads up on Sigma Brewery. They are located here in Houston. We actually have them scheduled to come on the show. It probably won't be until December, but they're going to be coming on the show. He says he's enjoyed everything he's tried from them so far. Heard about them here on the program.
Their porter at Sigma is is something to behold.
I keep saying Smoking and Toasting, directly influencing sales.
Something to behold.
It happens, yep. It happens. So, also, I think there was a question. Ian, can you find that?
So, yeah, Stan actually said, cigar science question. Why can I not smell my own cigar or even another cigar when I am smoking, but I smell a cigar someone else is smoking quite specifically if I am not smoking?
That is so interesting. Yeah, there is definitely a difference to the room note of someone else's cigar.
I can smell someone else's cigar when I'm smoking a lot of times, and sometimes I can differentiate it, but... it might be one of those where it's because when you're smoking, it's very much
on your palate
and in your sinuses and everything else. So I think what happens is, your senses just don't pick up what's around it as sensitively because of that. It's picking up the immediate.
Right. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say this? As someone who enjoys cigars, if I'm like outside or something, and somebody is like has lit up and smoking, their cigar, assuming it's not a crappy one, Their cigar smells so good to
Yeah.
me that it's like, oh man, I really want to have a cigar. Like,
Well-
it's such an enjoyable, almost in some ways, almost even more so than my own cigar when I smoke it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but it's someone smoking a really good one. You're like, oh man, what are you
And you can
smoking?
smell it
that
a block
smells
away.
great. Yeah.
But I think that the reason that happens is when you're smoking a cigar, you tend to be nose blind a little different,
Probably, yeah.
or a little bit
Because it's so full on your palate. Yeah.
And and to be honest with you, this will sound funny, but probably it's kind of the same reason you have a hard time smelling your own BO. And by the time you do, it's way too late.
Yeah, I
buddy.
was going to say it's late in the game. It's fourth quarter, and you're down by 2 touchdowns.
Right, yes,
exactly.
it's late in the game on that
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, with that in mind, we will now go to what has become one of the standout features of the show, which tells you a little bit about how lame this show probably is. Are you in tune there? All right, sounds good. You're on.
Okay, I'm just seeing how long it takes to get awkward.
We've definitely reached that point.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. So grab a cup while we gather round. Saddle up while we drink 'em down. I've got a story and I swear it's true. So now it's time for drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When I asked about his absent arm, he said, I tried to take my gator to the vet. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Cheers, y'all.
I love that last chord. That's just so perfect. Drinking News is the program, is the segment of the program where we bring you an interesting story, or we hope it's interesting, from out there somewhere. It is sometimes, but not always, about drinking, but we hope it's always appropriate to listen to the Drinking News story while you are drinking. Today's story does involve drinking, and I'm disappointed to say that not every Drinking News story can start with the phrase "a Florida man."
But they almost always should.
Yeah, I don't want to say a Florida man if it wasn't a Florida.
I mean,
man.
I don't want. I'm not hating on Florida.
No, I know,
Like-
but there's just something about it.
Yeah.
Well, this one's close. A Wisconsin man. That was perfectly timed, by the way. A Wisconsin man managed to become locked in a shop's beer fridge and spent hours drinking its contents before they let him out.
Before they let him out.
Yeah. He's a 38-year-old. He said, "I just wanted beer," when questioned by police, who later charged him with retail theft. The man from Marshfield, Wisconsin, entered the Quick Trip convenience store and became trapped in the beer fridge at around 11:50 p.m. He was then let out by another customer around 6 a.m. the following morning, when he simply walked out of the shop. According to the USA Today, the man told police that he decided he might as well just stay inside the cooler and drink the beer. The cooler,
Well, yeah. I mean, he could have at least just squared up in the morning.
the cooler also reportedly had a glass door, so if he had knocked, employees would have heard him and let him out. A customer told Quick Trip employees the man was inside the cooler at 5:50 the next morning, and that's when someone went and let him out. So a customer actually came up and said, "Yeah, there's a guy in your beer fridge, and he looks drunk." The employees opened the door, and then the man left without paying for the beer, according to the report. He reportedly drank an 18-ounce bottle of beer and 3 cans of malt beverage, as well as knocking over a stack of 30-can beer packs and breaking 3 of the cases open. Police issued the man a citation for retail theft. Here's the strangest part of the whole story to me, and we had his mugshot up there. Did I miss that? Did we already put that up? Yeah, we had his mugshot, so here's the dude. But if you get locked in a beer fridge and you're dumb enough to just stay in there and drink the beer, why would you choose any malt beverages.
Yeah,
like
malt
there's got to be better
beverage.
stuff you could choose. You're seriously choosing malt liquor when you're in the beer fridge? Even in a quick trip beer fridge, you got to be able to find at least, something.
Oh, yeah. Come on. There's got to be like Yingling or...
Yeah, something's got to be in there.
Or
Exactly.
Lone Star or Shiner. Or...
Tecate even, like something. No, I don't know if they have Tecate Quick Trip, but anyway. So there you go. That's your drinking news. And
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Did you say Wisconsin man?
Wisconsin man.
All right, yeah. A Wisconsin man found himself in a bad way when he drove his motorized cooler on the freeway. There we go. That's going to be a new verse.
All right, that's working.
I'm going to make that up.
You keep working on that. I like it. I absolutely
I'm not so
like
good
it.
apparently at the improv, but I'll do that for next time.
You're not like a free.
You know what I'm talking about? Those motorized coolers, right?
Oh yeah. But you're not like.
Oh, this will now be known as the bad motor cooler.
The bad motor cooler. I like that.
Right?
Yeah,
Remember the old Montrose
that
song, "Bad Motor Scooter"?
Yes. That. But I will say, when it comes to the ukulele, you're not necessarily the ukulele equivalent of a freestyle rapper. You need time to write.
I'm gonna have to work on it. I'm gonna have to polish and hone my skills.
All right, that's fair enough. All right, we're gonna try
Sticky Monkee.
Sticky Monkee. Sticky Monkee is something that Firestone Walker does every year. It's they call it a Central Coast Quad, but it's barrel aged, and this one is from 2016. Am I correct? I think it says on the front there.
Yes, 2016 vintage.
Okay, so this has been aging for a while. I don't necessarily have a beer cellar. I have more like a beer closet.
Since founding our brewery in 1996, we specialize in the rare art of fermenting beer in oak barrels. In the fall of 2006, we embarked on a program to barrel age a series of vintage strong ales that would later be used as components of a blended beer. That blend would become our first anniversary ale called 10.
Yep.
After the release of 10, we released limited amounts of the component beers on draft only. Many of these beers gained cult following that craft beer fans raved about and begged for us to put in bottle. Sticky Monkee is one of these beers. I love the name of it.
And it's Stickee, Stickee.
Stickee.
Yeah.
E-E.
Sticky Monkee.
And then monkey with two E's on the end. Let's see. We present 2016 vintage of Sticky Monkee, a barrel-aged quad. It has been said that the only constant is change, and the same is true for barrel-aged beers cut from a similar recipe. This barrel-aged quad evolves and shows a different face each year, and result of time spending aging in the barrel. Turbinado brown sugar from Mexico adds wonderful molasses flavors.
I'm getting so much molasses on the nose
Yeah, big
here.
time. That are reminiscent of Belgian candy sugar. It has full body and lush texture with barrel expression all over toasted oak, coconut, leather. Rich cigar tobacco. So I'm gonna say that the coconut's a little buried right now. I think probably due a little bit to the age, but the oak is huge. That lush overall mouthfeel is absolutely wonderful. The tobacco taste and the leather come through really, really well. It's absolutely
making this
fantastic.
something that would pair with even a pretty hefty cigar.
Yeah,
You know?
think that this would cut through in almost any situation.
Pairing beer and cigars is much tougher, I think, than spirits. There are a lot of great beers that don't pair well with cigars. So when I find ones that do, I always try to kind of keep a mental list of those, because I really enjoy, I really love, let's say, a Stone IPA. But a Stone IPA and a cigar do not go together at all.
Not very well at all.
And so I don't drink that when I'm having a cigar.
Spirits and cigars can be like that too. But the thing is, you can go, like, when you start talking about styles and cigars, you can almost guarantee. Like, we talk about beer and cigars. So anything that's in the not super hoppy
Right.
range.
If it's maltier,
If it's
if
maltier
it's something
in
that has been
general.
barrel aged, good better
or even
possibilities.
wheat, or
Yeah.
you know, those kind of things will generally go. Like you can guarantee, like, when's the last time you picked up a porter and thought to yourself, "This will not go with a cigar"? Like that's not
Never.
happening, right?
Never.
But the same thing's true with bourbon. Like, when's the last time you picked up a bourbon and thought this will not go with a cigar? That being said, you know, Scotch isn't the same way, because some Scotches will go amazing with a cigar,
Right, and some are not quite there.
but put an Ardbeg up against most cigars, and you're gonna find that's a little tougher
It's
pair.
gonna
You know.
Yeah, it's going to suffocate the cigar in many ways.
Yeah, a lot of times it can, because of that peat, and that peat's so specific that it's only going to work with certain cigars.
I feel like this
diesel.
I feel like this would work with just about anything, though. It would work with a lighter cigar like a Perdomo Champagne.
Well, Belgians are
It would
so
work
good
with,
like that.
It would work with AJ Fernandez New World.
Yeah, Belgians have that fruity sweetness to them to begin with, and then when you barrel age a Belgian, and you end up with some of those darker, richer flavors and that oaky dryness and everything, it's going to go great with a cigar.
Yeah. I tell you what, this is excellent, and it's one that makes me. I'm glad that I closeted this. I don't really get to say cellared. I'm glad that I closeted this one for a while, because it feels like the aging really works for this type of thing. It makes me wonder now. From what I've heard, tell me if this sounds right to you. From what I've heard, even beers that you can age, and this would be one of them, really you shouldn't go more than about 10 years. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I'd say generally less than 10 years. I'd say you're going to top out a lot of times at 4 to 6 years.
Because you basically open it up and you get soy sauce.
Yeah, it can go soy sauce on you, or it can turn to a couple different things. But soy sauce is one of the more common, especially when it's darker. But yeah, they can get a little bit weird.
So I'm getting a little bit of that sort of dried fruit, date, raisin vibe here, but I'm also getting kind of like a graham cracker vibe to this as well, which I'm really finding interesting.
You know, I think because you're tasting, I think the vanilla and the oak in there, and then that malt on top of that. I think when you combine those things, you kind of get some of that graham crackery.
One of the things that I've begun to really enjoy doing, and I'll do this sometimes when we get together with the family, because Adam will be there and Adam's brother Aaron will be there. We all enjoy beer. So we'll open up one of these bombers of something that we've never tried before and just kind of share it and pass it around. And to me, those are very special beer experiences. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it's completely different than when you're, at home watching the game and you like open up something important to a cold
hazy
glass
little thing,
and
slam
enjoy
it
it
back.
yourself. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a completely different thing because you're, and this is what I always enjoy about all of the things that this show's about is when they spark and inspire conversation and fellowship is a kind of a funky word, but you know what I mean by that.
No,
right?
but isn't it a great thing? Well, first off, like it's the nature of us as people, as society, as culture, to share food. We all eat. So we share food. That's one of the things. If you go out on a date, a lot of times you go out to eat, or you go out to coffee,
Right.
You go out and consume
something
together.
Right, yeah.
And that's just an integral part of our psyche.
And it's something that is.
And so when we sit down and we have a beer like this and we share it and we consume it together and then we discuss it and those kind of things, I think that's a bonding on a level that's a little bigger than, hey, I just was chatting to the guy in line behind me at McDonald's. You know.
Well, even the origin of this show was you and me getting together, enjoying some beers and some spirits together, and so talking about cigars, and that was what made us think, this might be fun to do a show. I will also say that we're in such a weird time right now because of social distancing and all that opportunities to do that kind of thing, getting together and sharing beers with friends and people, feel like they're a bit more limited, and that's kind of a bummer.
Substantially more limited. It's hard to share stuff now.
It's hard to share if you
unless
can't get
you're in
together.
a tight-knit group of people. It's hard to share stuff because
Sometimes
people don't want to touch everyone else's stuff now.
Sometimes if you share on Zoom, you can have the same things at the same time if your partner in crime has dropped off the malt liquor at your building and allowed you to get it and drink it at the
Next
same
time
time.
it's going to be in a gift basket exposed so everyone can see.
There is not going to be a malt liquor next time. I'll just put my foot down on that right now. Want to share another list with you. This is from Brewbound magazine. There's so many great magazines and websites for.
Do you have a list of all
home
these
brewers.
lists?
I should compile a list of lists. But this one I thought was fun because, and these lists are shorter. They just did top 10s, but they ranked their top ranked breweries and their top-ranked beers. And it indicates small and independent craft brewers are indicated with a little different little thing beside them on the list than the larger brewing companies, but these are all craft brewers. So here we go. You want beers or breweries first?
Let's go beers first.
Beers first. Number 10, North Coast Old Rasputin. And these are not divided out by style. This is just the top 10 of everything, according to Brewbound, the beer industry news, events, and jobs magazine. North Coast Old Rasputin at number 10. At number 9, this is the second time we've mentioned this beer today, the Deschutes Fresh Squeezed IPA. That is a very hoppy IPA. I will tell you, as an IPA guy, it's one that I think I would like a lot more than you would like.
That's not one that I would grab off the shelf, but there's a lot of Deschutes that I will.
Founders Kentucky Bourbon Stout is tied at 7.
That one I'll grab off the shelf.
With Boulevard's Tank 7 Farmhouse Ale.
That one I'll grab off the shelf.
All right. At number 6 is Three Floyd's Zombie Dust. Bell's Hop Slam at number 5.
You know, that one's too hoppy for me. I don't grab for it.
But you enjoy their Two Hearted Ale as
I
as
absolutely
being a
love the
much
Two
more
Hearted
balanced
Ale.
thing. Number 4, The Alchemist's Heady Topper. Again, please send
Big
beer.
question mark, yeah.
Please send beer.
Alchemist, send us beer.
Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale comes in at number 3 on this list. So this is interesting because it's a
Nothing wrong with that.
completely different list, but Sierra Nevada is still scoring high. And we've talked about this. I'm always afraid that Sierra Nevada and Boston Beer Company, Sam Adams, that those guys, and even
They get
Shiner,
overlooked,
that
yeah.
they get overlooked in these type of things because they're because they've managed to become more widely successful. Primarily because they've been around longer, you know. At number 2, Russian River's Pliny the Elder, and at number 1 on this list, Bell's Two Hearted Ale.
Yeah.
So those are the top 10 beers of 2020 according to Brewbound. The breweries. There's a tie at 10 between two that I'm just like such a huge fan of, both of them. Stone Brewing in Escondido, California, and Firestone Walker Brewing in Pasa, Robles. Man, those breweries are both.
I like to think that they meet on the county line border and have
exchange
rumble.
beers. Firestone Walker, we had on the program today, and I'm a fan of their IPAs. The 805 is terrific, and Stone. I mean, what can you say that hasn't already been said?
Yeah, Stone.
They're just so amazing. Number 9 is New Belgium Brewing Company. So New Belgium's still making a lot of lists here. It'll be interesting to see. Now that
but they don't
ownership
have the
has
little
shifted.
upside-down independent beer
No,
label
they
anymore.
don't. They sure don't.
That's no longer
the
on there.
Alchemist from Stowe, Vermont, is at number 8.
Alchemist, send us beer.
Yeah. Deschutes Brewery from Bend, Oregon, at number 7. At number 6, from Charlton, Mass, Treehouse Brewing. Hearing a lot more and more about Treehouse over the last couple of years. At number 5, Dogfish Head Craft Brewery from Milton, Delaware. At number 4, Founders Brewing Company from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Number 3, Russian River Brewing Company from Santa Rosa and Windsor, California. Number 2, Sierra Nevada Brewing Company from Chico, California, and they're also in Mills River, North Carolina now. And at number 1, Ian, Bell's Brewery, Comstock, Michigan.
I love Bell's.
They really
They're
are
so good.
It was really exciting for us here in Texas about a year and a half or so ago when Bell's suddenly started
we got the
showing
distribution
up.
for it.
Yeah.
That was a
on
couple
our-
years
on our
ago now.
shelves here.
Yeah,
and
so
it's just such good stuff. Such good stuff. So a lot of good lists. I would say for breweries, I don't know. For me, the brewery that I really love, Bear Bottle out of San Francisco. I really love Bell's. The brewery that at least kind of came on for me the most this year, that I said to myself, I will try anything they release, is Parish.
Parish
I
is
am
outstanding.
such a fan of Parish, and I still say their Ghost in the Machine may be the best hazy IPA I've ever had.
That is a fantastic
It
IPA.
really is. What about you? I know you're a big fan of Founders.
Founders is hard to go wrong with Founders. I mean, they did one kind of fruity raspberry beer that I was questionable about. But Founders is one of those breweries where if I see it on the shelf and I haven't tried it, it's a guarantee that I'm going to buy it.
For me, a real up-and-comer.
It's also, in the last 3 weeks,
Yeah?
I bought Founders 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, I bought Founders this week, too.
You know?
I bought some of that all-day IPA.
Yeah, I bought the Porter and the Dirty Bastard twice.
I'm going to
Dirty
say
Bastard is so good.
Yeah, it is really good. It really is good.
You know, so up and comers, Odell's, I think is a great brewery. Their 90 shilling is so good. There's and they're coming out with.
I've loved their limited series beers.
The
they've
drummer
released.
one, the
Oh,
APA.
yes. The
I can't remember the name of it.
It's an American pale ale,
Yeah.
and it's got a drum on the front. Drum roll.
Drum roll, yeah.
Drum roll,
There's
I think.
there's
That's
some
so good.
great
That's
stuff.
so good.
I've been enjoying a lot of the local breweries we have here. We talked briefly during one of the breaks about Sigma Brewing,
yeah.
which is
And we're looking forward to having them on the show.
which is
very
not too
soon.
far from here, and their porters are so good. We got Buffalo Bayou Brewery over here now. We talked about Southern Star. We had the CyGourd, but their stout is literally a world-class stout. Like, it's up there with flavor-wise and in intensity. It's up there easily with the Old Rasputin and with Founders Breakfast Stout. And
I'm going to tell you, we had the guys from True Anomaly Brewing on back on number 207. That IPA that we tasted, that's become one of my instant favorites. I mean, and that brewery.
You
is
talking about
literally-
the double IPA?
Yes,
that was
yes.
so good.
Yeah,
yes.
and that brewery is literally steps from my house.
Yeah, you can walk there.
It's crazy.
Although
how
that
close
first step
it is.
off your balcony is a doozy.
That's a doozy, yeah. But the point is, and what I find so interesting about this is that it's become so easy now to find great beer. That doesn't mean every beer you try you're going to love, but if you try a half a dozen beers, you will find 3 or 4 that you are going to love, and you can kind of start making your own list. And I'll just mention these guys too, Cigar City Brewing.
Cigar City, absolutely. And the problem
They're
is
really coming on.
There's so many good ones. Cigar City's another one. If I see one from them, I'm probably going to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. Well, I'm glad we tried this Firestone Walker
I am too.
Sticky Monkee 2016 vintage. I was just looking to see if it said here what the alcohol percentage is. 11.6 on this. So
It's pretty good. And it's got a little boozy to it.
Yeah, yes, it does. And I'm enjoying every boozy bit.
Yeah.
I am. Thank you, Ian, for being here for 210 episodes of Smoking and Toasting. That's 209 plus the lost episode, which we'll find one day.
The lost episode.
Yeah. It's a bitter episode.
We need to have whenever we find it.
Yeah.
We need to intro it with the Land of the Lost.
I think Bobby took it with him somewhere. Can you do the Marshall, Will, and Holly theme song on the ukulele?
I don't know it.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Okay, I can teach you the song. You'll just have to learn to play it.
All right.
Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition. Felt the greatest earthquake ever known.
I remember when that show was on.
You just, and I remember not to sing. I was just quoting lyrics to you, which is, I do that so we don't lose what.
Did you watch that remake movie that they did a while back?
Yes, it was terrible, but I still enjoyed it.
It was terrible, but at least it was entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I still enjoyed it. It was anything with a sleeve stack, I will watch. That's just kind of how I go. All right, I want to thank everybody for being here for the program this week. We will be back. We are lining up some really cool guests between now and the end of the year. We will be taking Thanksgiving week off, but we'll be around beyond that. And we got a lot to talk about and a lot to do and a lot to sample and a lot to taste. And I just want to thank our regulars who come in and are here with us almost every week on the chat. These guys are the greatest, and we appreciate you for being a part of this.
Wiki Brian was in a meeting today. He did send me a personal message saying, hey, sorry, miss you guys.
Well, we miss you too, Wiki Brian. And thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel. Have a great week, my friends. I appreciate you most of all. Thanks for being here, for smoking and toasting, as we like to say. Cheers, y'all.